guys, welcome to the Elephant Room Kidmin edition. I have a couple of highly influential and highly connected Kidmin leaders from around our nation that we're going to talk about a very pivotal part of a healthy Kidmin in your local church. And that is, how do we communicate with our parents? How do we communicate with our adult leaders? How do we empower the adult leaders that we are partnering with to help us raise a generation of God-fearing little kids who are going to grow up to God-fearing adults? And so we're going to have that conversation today. The first Elephant Room that is on our YouTube channel had to be with a big picture on the new normal of Kidmin post-COVID-19. We're also going to have two other videos as well for you to subscribe to and check out on the same playlist. It is going to be on missions awareness. How do we promote missions and the call of God during a time where economics and hardships are running rampant? How do we stay true to that calling and empower our kids to do the same, as well as how do we disciple our kids in this new season in a virtual world and when we go back, so that this time was not just a Band-Aid or a stopgap that we reacted to, but how do we respond to a move of God in the midst of a storm that will make us all stronger and healthier because of it?
So my name is Lisa Durant. Thanks so much for having me here. My family lives in Brewerton, New York, which is central New York, and I'm a kids pastor in Baldwinsville, New York at Word of Life AG. I'm also the Girls Ministries Director for New York State. So I have two boys, 19-year-old Caleb, who's a sophomore in college, and 16-year-old Joshua, who's a sophomore in high school. They're both homeschooling right now, and my husband Harry is actually taking a couple of days off just to kind of be with the family during this time and reconnect. So we're working from home.
Hello, everyone. I'm Victor Oliva. I am a children's pastor at Church of All Nations in Boca Raton, Florida. That is South Florida. I have a beautiful wife. I have two kids, a 9-year-old daughter and a 5-year-old son. And yeah, man, loving South Florida right now.
So Pilcher, I am a kids pastor out in Colorado, almost Utah, but Colorado. And I have been married for just a little over 10 years. And I have a beautiful adopted daughter who is just turned 4. And we are awesome.
I'm Darrell Wickert. I am a family pastor at Mercy Gate Church in Mont Belvieu, Texas, which is about 30 minutes east of Houston. And I have two kids and a wife, and we're excited to be here, excited to take care.
So in this post-COVID-19 season that we're in a virtual world and everyone's trying to figure this thing out, in regards to parents, in regards to team members, to adults in general, what are some ways that we can navigate and invest in them and communicate or empower? What have you found to be some key marks in this new normal that we have to hold on to and maintain? What's the state of the union in regard to our...
One of the keys is you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So you have to ask questions. And I think in this season, more than ever, we have to ask questions. We have to ask our teams what they need. We have to ask our parents what they need. We can't assume. Parents are trying to homeschool their little guys at home and trying to work from home. Some of them are essential workers, and so they're out all day working, and then they come home and they're schooling their kids. So supporting parents really means listening and shifting, changing things as they go. We have to be really flexible and give them the resources that they need in that season. I think it's really important.
Communicating is not enough. I mean, we got to just find ways, creative ways to communicate better. We can't just simply say, hey, I'm going to send an email and that's it. I'm talking about picking up the phone, calling, texting. We use something called Remind app. Teachers use it, and so I use that, and I get a lot of feedback back from parents and adults or leaders. And even doing Zoom meetings frequently, once a week with your leaders and parents and kids. I mean, that works out a lot. Just communicating, making sure that we're not wasting our time and saying, hey, we're here to help you. We want to work alongside you. And so I think that's very important.
I think we're kind of in a spot where with the more we can give information wise to people, because I think we're living in a place where everything is still day to day to some extent. We're like here in Texas right now, we're waiting for 2:30 this afternoon when there's going to be a big there's a big press conference, so we're waiting to hear what the governor's going to say, and it's a daily thing. So we have to be ready to, whenever he says something, then to turn around tomorrow and say, hey, this is what our new plan is. And it's always changing. So we have to continually be communicating and over communicating, and more than we ever thought we would have to.
We're having a constant conversation on our staff about who's getting what information. And we had this long drawn out conversation, and I finally was like, guys, we have to put it on the website, because the conversation was, it only needs to go on Facebook. No, we have so many people that are not on Facebook. Yeah. We have people that are on Instagram that aren't on Facebook. We have people that are on, Facebook, but not on Instagram. We have to double and triple our communication. And if we think we're communicating enough, we're not. Yeah. And so that's when we have to back up and say, okay, I've made more phone calls in the last 8 weeks than I have in 10 years of kids ministry. And I love that, because I've sat down. I've heard of churches all over the nation that have divvied up their attendance rosters, their database, and they've decided every 12 weeks from now until Jesus comes, they are going to reach out and talk to their people. These are things that have never happened before. And I'm scratching my head going, why? Why did it take a pandemic for us to actually reach out and talk to our church people? When it comes to my leaders, one of the things that I'm doing is I'm empowering my leaders to start lesson planning. Right now, there is no excuse for them to not have time to lesson plan. And so I have on our Wednesday night lessons, I just picked a topic, fruits of the Spirit, and I said, okay, these are the elements you need. Send it to me 24 hours before. I'm approving it. I'm helping them, tweaking it a little bit. They're shooting it. So they start from beginning with the concept all the way till the end, where they see it on Facebook and see it on our website. And I love empowering those leaders, because now when we go back, I can say, okay, here's a quarter of curriculum. I want you to plan it, and I know that they can do it well. And I love that about empowering leaders.
Yeah, I think making sure that your leaders are part of your circle, because it's really easy to be siloed right now as in this season, because we're not seeing their faces, and there are things that we have access to as far as resources and technology that they might not have access to. So it takes more time to train them, as always, and it takes more time to bring them in. But this is a time that we really have to connect them. I've empowered my leaders to run our Google Hangouts. So I drop in, I say hi to the kids, and then I leave the room. I'm there, but I shut off my camera and I shut off my microphone. They know I'm there if something's going on, or if they end up alone with a child for some reason. But I'm empowering my leaders to do that, and they're doing a great job. At first, they were completely intimidated by it, but now they're fine, and so they're wanting to reach out more. We're empowering our leaders to call families along with me. I love what you said, Rachel, about we're going to keep calling families, because I find that when I call a family, I find out what's really going on. If I text them, they'll say we're doing okay. Emails, that's just me. That's one-way information. But when I call a family, usually those conversations are no less than half an hour, and they're just so happy to be able to share what's going on, to have somebody to pray with. And then for me to really find out, what is it that you need? Do you need me to come over and bring something? Do you need something from the church? Do you need us to get some resources to you? That's so important, is to loop everybody in and make sure they're part of your conversations.
I like that. I mean, same thing with you guys, with the leaders. Some of them are sitting at home and they just want to do something. Yeah. And so we started doing something called drive-bys, where we decided to get the team together and make these care packages for our kids. And they're going out there delivering these goodies to our kids, surprising them, because they want to see them face to face. And so they're being part of this whole Kidmin world now. They're not sitting at home. And so I think empowering our leaders that way is very important, getting them involved, because they miss our kids too. And so it's not just us. And so we got to understand that we got to just give them the power to go out there and also be involved in the ministry and not just sit at home.
Yeah, one thing I would say too, as a dad, I think this way, the way we're partnering, my kids' pastor partners with me, correct? And so there's no replacement, there's none of that, but they partner with me. And so clarity on a Sunday, whatever the service times are, clarity is important. Is it easy for me to find the service? Do I understand what's going on? And when I see my kids reacting, because I'm not in the service on a Sunday morning normally, but now I'm watching my kids engage in worship, and all of a sudden I'm just like, my kids, love Jesus, yay. And the time that they, didn't listen 15 times a day before, I know they're not going to hell. At least they got, that's just working it out, right? But it's been able to see that consistency. I think communication is there as well in the sense of creating safety. I think you can't, someone said we're the chief reminding officer, in this role, because we're just keeping the main thing. And so Facebook, you might use it, but it's not truly effective, or efficient. It's effective, but it's not efficient. And so if I'm going to hit all my people, I'm gonna hit it in a consistent way that is clear, and that is to bring safety. On my adult leaders, what I would say is expectations. Not only that my kids miss Miss Megan or Mr. John, right? Those Mr. Johns and Miss Megans miss my kids in being involved. Like, they're volunteers, right? Yes. That currency is love, not necessarily, you're not getting paid 99% of our people. And so if they've been in if we become doers in 6 weeks, which some of you watching, you might be done more, because the silo, Lisa, you said it great, the silo part is key. But man, if I have the next 6 weeks in mind moving forward, that I'm going to invest in my people with me, and all of a sudden, and keep them, not only that feeds them and reminds them while they joined in, but my fear is, if I would take this whole 3 months and do it myself, what you're going to reap, or what I would reap, is that you don't really need me. You know what I mean? If I'm a volunteer and you're a leader and you didn't include me for 3 months, you didn't need me. So why are you asking me in August? Oh, because you see, it's not a love, it's more of a.
I got a call yesterday from one of my leaders, and she was like, "Hey, I need to get the rest of my kids' numbers." And so she's been calling houses herself, and it made my day as her leader, because I've just been going through the church roster. I'll hit a different letter a day if I know there's hitting whatever kids, and just dropping a text message saying, "Hey, how are y'all doing?" But for my leaders to jump out and say, "Hey, what can I call?" That to help me know that, hey, I've been pushing the right things in their brains and pushing the right buttons there. So she knew that was something that she could do, and she jumped at it. So that right there, just they can call and say, "Hey, how are you?" And just talk to the kids. And most parents are excited to hear from their their teachers at this point, the small group leaders.
I also think, I love that. We also do Zoom, right? And so I invite all the leaders to come in and be part of the Zoom and see the kids. And each of them bring a devotion to share. And so they take part of that, and they want to be part of that. And also, like I said before, the drive-bys. I have some leaders that come with me, and they go with me to deliver the gifts to the parents and to the kids. And they love that, being part of that. And I think just getting them involved, and they're hungry for it. They want to be there. They want to see the kids. And so, that's where I'm at.
I'm really liking partnering with parents in this season. Our area, it was really weird how COVID hit our area. We were on spring break when it all kind of hit. And so I had about 10 days to really put together my plan of what this is going to look like. How are we going to do it? And our whole church staff really did, because everybody, I had kids at Disney World when it closed. I had kids at Disneyland when it closed. I had kids leaving on the way when those areas closed. And when the beaches closed in Colorado or in California, and, just all the parks and everything. And so I had disappointed kids when this all started. And so I began to put together what this was going to look like. And for the first few weeks, the parents really wanted my input. They wanted videos. They wanted all the bells and whistles of Zoom meetings and calls and Facebook Lives. And they wanted to come up to the church and, wave at me through the door. Yeah. But now, I began to realize I didn't want to be the primary person anymore. For 10 years, I have preached about how mom and dad are primary. And so now I said, here you go. Here's the devotional. I want you to lead it, and I want you to take a picture and put it on Facebook, and I'll give you a $25 gift card. I'm all about bribery in kids ministry, okay? We're all about bribery. I love it. And so that's where I kind of turned it. And there were times that I would look at other children's pastors and go, man, their service is really cool. But my heart and my passion was different for my community and for my community of parents. And so my children's church lessons have never gone over 12 minutes. it has followed right in line with what pastor's preaching. That's something we have always said, we'd love to do that. We'd love to do that. I've never had the time. Well, now I do. And so now we are walking side by side through the book of Colossians, and our kids are getting it at their level with an object lesson. Our adults are getting it, and everybody's sharing worship. And I love that. And so I love partnering with parents. Today, or yesterday in our service, we sang the song "The Blessing" by Carrie Job, and we sang that, and one of our lead pastors shared the verse out of Numbers. I posted that on my Facebook page and Instagram page today, and just said, hey, that, just a picture of, have you blessed your children today? Just reminding parents, this is the time. We will never get this time again. We will never have this time to sit with our kids, pray over them. The other night, my daughter fell asleep in my lap. She's 4. That never happens. I turned worship music on. I began to pray over her. I began to speak life and speak worship over her. I shot a video of myself doing that. That is not because I'm better than every other parent. It's to show parents how to resource what it is that they need to be doing right now. And it's so powerful. I'm getting text messages every day. Hey, my kids took these notes at church yesterday. I didn't realize that they could understand Pastor Josh. And I was like, he doesn't speak another language. He's just talking to grown-ups. So I'm very, very excited about that.
Rachel, I love that. And I love the idea of like bringing parents into the circle. They think that we're the experts, but we are not the experts. They're the experts. And so empowering them and modeling for them, this is how you can do this right in your home. You don't need me. You don't need my team. You don't need a bunch of fancy stuff. I started doing altar responses and worship responses in my lessons, just modeling them for parents. So I talk to the parents at the beginning of the lesson. I do the kids' lesson, and then I say, okay, go get your mom and dad if they're not, watching right now. And then I show them how easy it is to let their child respond to what they just heard, and to pray with their child, and to have a blessing with their child. Because I'm a True Fire fan too, and what you're the True Fire people here. But I've gotten a lot of response from those pieces, and give away the secrets. There are no secrets in kids ministry. Like, you want parents to know this is what you are doing at home is way better than anything that I can do where we are.
I think it's obvious we have to all have some kind of a digital footprint at this point. Yeah. I think you can't just go in and say, hey, we're going to have kids church. We're going to have small groups. We're going to have, whatever this is. For us, I've been blown away. We moved our kids church service to Thursday nights just because I didn't want to go up on Sundays against Pastor. We're doing a short devotional, kind of like what Rachel's doing with matching Pastor's message right after Pastor speaks. And he even tells everybody Pastor Darrell's coming on 5 minutes after we get done. But we're doing a full-blown service on Thursday nights, and for a church of 800-900, and I think we had and normally we'll have 200 total kids on a weekend. We had just over 200 views last Thursday night on our Thursday night service. Nice. And we're being able to reach, and what I'm seeing is people in our community, they're going on and saying, hey, how do I get they're going to like the Moms of Mont Bellevue page, and they're asking, how do I get my kid involved in a church during this time? And my parents are stepping up and saying, well, Pastor Darrell does a service on Thursday nights, tune in. And so we've added, literally on our Facebook group, we've added I want to say something like 65 different parents, people since this thing started, and just had huge growth in that. And so for us, it's okay. We've got to have a digital footprint. What does this look like? So I had a meeting earlier today. What is it going to look like to put good cameras in our kids' church room? Because we're not going to be in the sanctuary in a few weeks. What is it going to look like? What is a YouTube channel? Because I know my kids are all watching YouTube. Mm-hmm. What are these? These are questions that I'm trying to answer right now and trying to figure out, okay, what are the steps we need to do, and what is the content? How often do we need to produce? Things of that nature. All these questions that I'm trying to answer right now as a kids pastor, as a family pastor.
I agree with you 100% on that. I thank God that I started a YouTube channel years ago, so I was able to throw a whole bunch of content there. And so I've been out there, but the one thing that you're saying, Charlie, is communication has changed big time for me. In my mindset is I haven't been communicating as much as I was before. You know what I'm saying? It's like now it's like I'm on fire. Like I want to make sure my parents know what's going on. You know, text messaging every day, sending them remind information, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. I'm not into the Snapchat thing. I'm trying to stay away from that. But, you know, I'm trying my best to, I mean, COVID-19 opened up my eyes. Thank God that I have a database. There's people out there that don't have a database.
Right.
They don't have a check-in system like we do.
Right.
And so I thank God that I had a database that I could go to and now contact my people, my kids. And so, I mean, I think communication right now has been a big key for me with COVID-19. I mean, thank God that we have a database. Amen. So,
Yeah.
We have the pleasure of having Sydney Morrow in our district, and she's been killing it here. We have a once a month. Speaking about her, she's calling me right now. Sorry about that, guys. She has been actually meeting with us every Thursday, Zoom calls, encouraging us, bringing guests, which is like what we need because some of us, we have that pressure. We're stressing out, making videos, providing all this information. And she's coming alongside the kids pastor saying, guys, I'm here with you too. All right. I'm going to bring leaders to encourage you to speak life into you. Not about Kidmin world, but bringing you a word from God to encourage you. And so stuff like that from our kids director means a lot to me. She's calling us, she's emailing us, texting us how we're doing, physically, emotionally, because it's hitting us hard. Some of us have lost our jobs. And so our kids director is actually reaching out to us, making sure that we're okay. And so I'll say that to you, Charlie.
Not only Sean Rainey, our family ministries director, but also our district superintendent and his wife during this time. And that just like, I don't even think that I needed to respond to them, but it meant enough to me that I was on a list somewhere that they copied and pasted an email or a text message to me. It didn't need to be personalized or anything. It just felt so good that somebody else was thinking about me. We're in a really weird spot out here in Colorado and Utah. We are 2 states and 1 network. Wow. So we go from the Colorado state line, Colorado-Kansas state line, all the way over to the other side of Utah. And there we can easily be 800-900 miles from a children's pastor on the Front Range. I'm dead smack in the middle. And I am one of, I think there's only 2 other full-time children's pastors in my area. And I'm the only female. And so for somebody to reach out and say, hey, how are you doing? You know, not only as a pastor, but as a person. That was what was important to me. Sean and I have talked a lot. I direct kids camp out here in Colorado. And so we've been talking a lot about kids camp and what that looks like. But, you know, he never misses the opportunity to ask me, hey, how's EJ doing? How's Michael doing? How is the church? How are the finances doing? Are you guys doing okay? Do you need anything? So there is that business mentality of we've got to talk about kids camp, but then it's always, always, always sandwiched with how are you doing, Rachel? Are you doing okay? Are you reading? Are you staying in the Word? Are you making sure that you are, you're putting yourself first? And there'll be times he'll ask, hey, is this your day off? And I'm like, I don't even know what a day off is anymore. That like I was good about my Sabbath before all this happened, and now I don't know what in the world, what day it is anymore, anything like that. But that's what I appreciate. And what's nice is when I see that from my leaders above, it makes me a better leader. Because today I talked to him about, hey, I'm going to call all the kids directors that go to kids camp, and we're going to talk about camp and see what they're talking about. So it has inspired me to also be a great follow-up person, not only in with my leaders and my families, but also in the kids pastor arena around me, because we are so far spread apart. And so Sean can't jump in the car and come over here and be over here on the Western Slope in 10 minutes. It would take 4.5, 5 hours for him to be over here, but I'm right here. So how can I help the kids pastors around here as well too?
And I think it's just that continual touching, being able to say, hey, let me just keep contact with these guys and let them know that I'm here. I think that's the biggest thing for any of us is to have that support from the district and have that support from those leaders that those people that we see as we respect, to be able to look at them and then just say, hey, what are you guys doing? Okay, is there anything you need? And most of the time, like in my case, I'd be like, yeah, there's, I know that. What can I do? Also, what can I do? If you know anybody I can help, and that's the question I would return that with. Well, there's not people. I know there's not people like me. So, it's important that we're reaching out and even, creating networks amongst our kids pastors that are out there and establishing those if they're not already established. I think that's super important.
For us in New York, Sharon Baldwin is great. And so anytime I've asked her a question, she's super quick to get back to us and just checking in. I think that's a big piece, is just knowing that somebody's going to say, are you okay? I can figure out resources. There's a ton of resources available, and I can ask nitty gritty questions, but just knowing that somebody cares about me and what's going on in my home and in my family is a big deal. That's a big deal for me.
I'm smiling because here's the kicker. Jesus says so many times in the Gospels, and then Paul does later, go and do likewise. Follow me as I follow Christ, right? So I asked this question kind of set up because it's not this rocket science, I got to go do this great program and have to be the greatest leadership guru ever. Leaders, let me just be straight with you if you're watching on this call, and we're doing this to equip you, is that God, and I've been saying this every single call, is a foundational core, I believe, not just for the season, but of ministry in the whole. Ephesians says that we are to equip the people to do the good work, okay? So the apostle, the pastor, the preacher, the teacher, the leader, the evangelist, we're all here to equip you, and then you to equip the people around us. And so then it should be something as simple as what we're saying. It's not profound. It's, man, your responsive time was quick. Hey, man, when there's a question, you didn't take 6 days to get in touch with me. You just checked in on me. You made me feel like I mattered, right? And so if we as leaders value that, that's what I believe that at the core of all this that we can do.
The AG hydrate. Lisa knows about that. I mean, that is, to me,
phenomenal.
I mean, I've been growing there, and I'm using that to help grow my leaders at the same time. And so to me, the AG Hydrate by the Kidmin world, it is phenomenal. It is amazing. Sometimes I find myself thinking, oh my goodness, I'm not even doing those things that they're teaching us. Another thing that I like to do is I like to read, right? Hopefully readers are leaders. Is that how you say it? Leaders are readers? I don't know, whichever it's. But here's one of my favorite books, How to Lead When You're Not in Charge. And a lot of times as pastors, as Kidmin, in the Kidmin world, sometimes you wonder why your pastor does things, and sometimes other pastors around you. And so that book helped me to become a better leader, not to question as much, but to lead. I'm called to lead. And so to me, it's very important to be a good leader and to imitate Christ wherever I go. Amen. And so he's ultimately the best leader ever. And so that's one of the things I wanted to share with you.
You stole my thunder there about Hydrate. I love the community. Yes. That comes with Hydrate and the support. I love that. I've been a Hydrate coach, and so I've been checking in on those leaders as I have a covering in Hydrate in the group I'm in. So I'm grateful for all of that. I started rereading 7 Essentials of Family Ministry during this season. I had read it a few years ago, and I'm rereading it now because it really talks about equipping parents and about parents being the leaders in the home. Because right now, we really need to equip parents. And I think whatever we do now, we're setting up a baseline for that. Sure. And then I like to listen to leadership podcasts. And so I like Michael Hyatt. He's not specifically a Christian leadership person, but he's very encouraging and just small steps that you can take to kind of keep yourself on track. So those are some things that I've been doing that I would recommend to anybody.
One of the things that I have really harped on with my team, with my interns and our staff is we now have loads and loads of white space. And we as a staff are coming up with our schedules, and we're breaking out of what we thought we needed to do as ministry. And so what I've encouraged my team to do is you carve out that time with the Lord, you carve out reading time, you carve out time with your kids. And then when we go back to normal in 4, 6, 12, 18 weeks, those are non-negotiables. And so I know that that's not like a huge, like a resource. The resource that I was going to talk about was hydrate. So thanks, guys. Should have talked about this.
Get around all four of us.
But the other thing is all of us just got back from AG Kidmin. Literally, we got back to our churches and then we shut down. Right. So that pile of books that you bought at AG Kidmin, go read those right now. All those books, go read them. Because that's what you wanted to learn 12 weeks ago when we started. Right. So when we started this, go back to that. I am reading a ton of parenting books too right now. I'm ready to hit parents with that really hard. I'm reading Grace-Based Parenting. That's hard to say. And then I'm also reading Spiritual Parenting by Michelle Anthony. I love that book. It's eons old, but I love that book. It's so good. So just make sure that, like Victor said, reading. I used to, before I had kids, I read 4 different books, a chapter each day. So I read 4 chapters a day. And I picked a leadership book, a discipleship book, a fiction book, and a parenting book. And that was so important to me because I wanted to make sure that I had all this different head knowledge happening inside. And then when I had kids, that went out the window real fast, especially a special needs child. So now I'm getting back to that. I'm not reading quite as much, but it's very important to read all of that for sure.
Yeah, I just got done with Craig Rochelle's Dangerous Prayers book, and that's been super challenging for me just to kind of sit back. And it's really a basic book, but it's been something that's been just a great reminder for me to really just challenge myself in the prayers that I pray. And especially in this time where you're saying, hey, Lord, search me. And you're saying, God, what am I called to? And, just asking those hard questions that that we all need to ask in this time, probably more than ever. And we can go with hydrate. We can go with, there's tons of different resources like that, but really, I'd like to challenge everybody. Just read as much as you can during this time. If you've got some extra time, you're finding yourself twiddling your thumbs in your house, pick up a book because, and that's, I've had them stuck around I have different books stuck around my house at the moment that I've been reading. But those are some of that's kind of the thought process during this entire time.
And so I just want to just close with this thought again. It's the fact that God's calling is secure. And so, there are many things that we can caught. There's many things that can be taught, but that we're all chosen in this profession. The fun thing about kids ministry, it's different than every other ministry in the church. Some people graduate through certain ministries. If you're in kids ministry, you're called to ministry, to work with kids. Some of us started because there was a need and it was an interim basis. And now we've been doing it for 15 years because we're good at it and God called us to do it, or our kids were in it. The fact is that you have a special bond and a special call to our little ones that before the age of 12, if a kid becomes saved for an age of 12, the highest rate of retention happens at any other age for that, and that's statistical. And so, and the fact that you're able to create healthy generational homes for our children, I can't say enough as you as kids leaders. So I want you to be encouraged that we are in an age where now growth is at our fingertips. Information, everyone is scrambling. And so these next 6 weeks is a pause button. It is a reset. But when it comes to empowerment of our leaders, my last thought is this. Before this time, we had both hands full with all of church world. We put one hand down and picked up connectivity. Now we're about to pick up a third hand of church again. If we don't give this hand away, we're going to drop it to pick it back and go to the path of least resistance. And all that God gave us to be stewards in this movement, we will lose because we didn't look ahead 6 to 8 weeks and go, how do I share this with people who have the same passions as me? And so I encourage you, I challenge and charge you more than any other topic. This is probably the most pivotal thing that we do is how do we include people with us so that when this is done, not only are we crushing church, but we're crushing community and our church is healthier because of it. Leaders, thank you so much for being a part of this and beginning these conversations. I believe it's probably the beginning, not the end of conversation, but thank you for your time and thank you for your investment in our kids leaders, not just in your own districts, but around our fellowship. Thanks again.